Okay. Thank you, everyone. We're live from YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Love you to drop your comments. Let us know where you're joining from Lagos, from Abuja, from outside Nigeria. Kindly drop your comments in the chat. And also, while you're at that, let us know: are you a merchant? Right? Do you own a physical store? Do you own your online store? Or are you a consumer looking forward to getting purchasing items, right, and paying in installment? Let's hear from you in the chat box. We're starting shortly. Let's get more comments, more comments, more comments. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm John Taiwo and I'll be your host for this webinar, right? Here we're looking at BNPL solutions for MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises, right? And how MSMEs sell on credit without a risk. BNPL simply means buy now and pay later, right? So this is going to be a very great discussion. So let's start. Yeah, I'm promising you that it's going to be a game-changing session for your business, for everyone who is here, for the merchants, for the customers. You're only going to get a value from this webinar, right? And the next 45 minutes, be exploring how buy now, pay later, right, isn't just a buzzword, but it's how it's changing. We're going to talk about it's changing e-commerce giants, right, and helping businesses, right, grow and expand. But then before we dive in, right, question is to merchants. So what if I told you that you can boost your sales, right, by about 50% and attract other customers, attract customers who might likely walk away, right, and turn them into buying customers or even repeat customers while reducing your risk. That's what we're trying to discuss today, right? For you as a merchant, you get more customers, you boost your sales, right, and also you expand. That is the focus of today's meeting. So let's get the comments. Let's get more response on the comments. Where are you joining us from? And are you a merchant? Are you a customer? Are you a lender? Right? This webinar is for you. Okay. Okay, so let's get down to business, right? Let's talk about buy now, pay later, right? So apart from just discussing here, we have one of our keynote speaker will be on call with us. You're privileged to also have her on the call, right? I'm going to be bringing her up shortly. But just before I do that, let me just give us a brief overview of what buy now, pay later is all about and why it's important at this point in time for you as a merchant, for you as a lender, and for you as a customer, right? So BNPL is just talking about buy now and pay later. I'm sure most of us are kind of familiar with that word. It just simply means getting an item, right, and paying for it in installment, right? Now it's very, very important in a time like this where inflation is rising and the cost of goods and services are on the high side, which makes it almost impossible for the everyday customer to afford these items. And also, what that simply means for merchants, for right, it also means low sale because if a customer cannot afford your item, it just simply means you won't be able to grow, you won't be able to make more money, right? Now, what we are bringing here for MSMEs is such that you're able to get value, right? Your customers can actually get what they deserve, what they desire, instead of waiting to save up for a period of time and then later on again inflation happens and then the goalpost is being shifted. What we are doing is that we're bringing the game to you, right? With buy now pay later, your customers can walk into your stores, go to your online marketplaces, pick up items they want, right? And from there, you can own such items and pay in installments, right? At no cost to you, right? Free and risk-free as well. You get paid upfront, right? And that is very important at a time like this where where the economy right now is kind of not smiling at everyone. And then most customers are unable to afford basic necessities of life. But then with buy now, pay later, customers can actually get what they deserve, what they would desire. That's the laptops, the mobile phones, right? The washing machines, the gas, the refrigerators, the generators. You can afford all of this and spread that payment, right, in installment, which is cheaper compared to them saving up for it, right? And at the end of the day, it's increased again because due to the rising cost of things and the economy. So yeah, it's very, very important at this point in time. And I would believe also it's also a very good tool for merchants to harness, right, to be able to boost their sales, increase conversion, and also acquire more customers. So for you as a merchant, this is a very good opportunity for you to explore what we have today, right? For you as a customer as well, who is looking forward to getting various items, it's also a very, very good opportunity for you to also be able to tap into what is currently ongoing. Because we also know that some of the SMEs, right, the businesses might be it might be strange or might be new to them hearing about BNPL, right? But it's something that it's of much value, which we think you are going to benefit from, right? So so before I call on our speaker, on our keynote speaker, I'm just going to just give you a little brief overview about her, right? She's an excellent woman. So Dr. Jameelah Ayedun. Dr. Jameelah Sharrieff Ayedun is an international professional that brings multifaceted experience in business, technical and people management, a thought leader, and business champion. She has about 20 years of experience in defining strategy, developing organization structure, building diverse winning teams, and delivering results. She's a co-founder of CreditRegistry Corporation, a software technology company headquartered in Washington State, USA. From 2014 to 2016, she was appointed substantive MD or CEO of CreditRegistry Nigeria, and she successfully grew the company to profitability by 858%, by a whooping 858%. That is real growth, if you ask me. Prior to this, she served as the Executive Vice President, Business Development, implementing growth strategies that ultimately accelerated subscription to 100% of commercial banking space. I'm sure for most of us who are probably in the credit space or in the fintech space, you've heard of credit registry. But then its journey continues. From 2002 to 2008, Dr. Jameelah worked with Microsoft Corporation as Global Program Manager, Shanghai PRC, and she also served as the Technical Program Manager, Redmond, Washington, USA, overseeing identity management and online services. She's a professional with a passion for excellence. She had a rewarding career with General Motors in North America, South America, and Europe from 1991 to 2001. Dr. Jameelah received the highest presidential award, the Stryker Award, from Illinois Institute of Technology, where she received a BSc in electrical engineering. She's an active member of the Institute of Directors and Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. She's a Dale Carnegie graduate and a graduate of Stanford Seed Institute for Innovation in Developing Economics, Stanford Graduate School of Business, 2017. You can tell from just reading this, you can just also know that she's someone of great influence and someone of great value. She has a lot of valuable insight to dish out today, right? Now, in recognition of her philanthropic efforts, she was nominated for the Jefferson Award for Extraordinary Public Service for Washington State, USA. She recognized the top 30 leading women in fintech in Nigeria by the Financial Technology Africa on the board of several enterprises and non-profit organizations. And also, she's the former president-elect and the first ambassador of the American Women's Club in Nigeria. Please join me as I welcome Jameelah Sharrieff.
Thank you so very much, John. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I call this a virtual lunch. I hope that you're enjoying your physical lunch where you are, and our aim is to be able to make your time worthwhile by giving you a nice, something to chop on when it comes to knowledge today. So I'm really excited to be here today. I think I do have some slides. We can kind of, if someone can help me to pull up the slides for our audience, that would be great. And we can show that while we're having a discussion. So, John, thank you for actually asking everyone, if they're a merchant, a customer, or a banker. I'm seeing some of that, seeing some of the comments in the chat box here that we have a variety. We have lenders. We even have different states here. Ogun State, not only Lagos, of course, is in the house. But I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you once again for joining us. I'm joining in the capacity of, again, I'm Dr. Jameelah Sharrieff Ayedun, but I'm also the chairman of the Credit Bureau Association of Nigeria and the managing director and CEO of CreditRegistry. So today I want to just thank, Ben for inviting CBAN, the association, to come and talk to you a little bit about our point of view when it comes to buy now, pay later. If you can go to the next slide, that would be great. Before I dive into my speech, really, it's not a speech, but I'm just going to talk about a little personal experience. I will like to introduce quickly the association. So again, like I said, I'm Jameelah. I'm with CreditRegistry. We're Nigeria's pioneer credit bureau, but we also have in our association two other credit bureaus. Amazingly so, here we have First Central. It was the first licensed bureau here in the country. So that's First Central. It's under Deji Peters, and he's the managing director, CEO there. We also have CRC Credit Bureau. That is under the management of Tunde Popola. So Dr. Tunde Popola as well. So these are the three credit bureaus that you have here in Nigeria. If you don't know these credit bureaus, I would encourage everyone here to know what lenders know. Across the market, information is being shared about people's credit worthiness, their payment responsibilities, their obligations, and how they're performing on those obligations. These licensed institutions are required by law to manage that information and make that information available to each and every data subject that is on our bureau. So you have the right to know the kind of information that we have. We are very transparent with that. But more importantly, you also have the advantage of using that information to leverage it to make sure that you have access to the best products and the best services available to you on credit. So with that, I do want to kind of dive right in, and there'll be plenty of time, I believe, for us to ask any questions around, credit bureaus and the association. But I'd like to really now dive right into our point of view when it comes to buy now, pay later. If you can go to the next slide, please, that would be great. So I'll start out. I'm known for trying to make things very practical. When I have the opportunity to speak to an audience, I try to make it as if I'm sitting in the audience and what would help me. So you'll have to kind of just go with my own mindset of how I'd like to approach this conversation. I'll start out with a personal story. So this story primarily, it revolves around last summer. Last summer, at the peak of the scorching period in Georgia within the United States. I mean, it's hot. If you ever heard about, Georgia, it is incredibly hot during the summertime. My daughter's AC in her car actually went out. She was on the side of the road. The car was smoking, and she didn't really know what it would take to get it fixed. But, she took it to her usual maintenance company, which is called Midas out of the US. So my daughter, Sydney is what we call her in the US. So Sydney said, okay, look, you guys, it is burning up. I have to have a car. Can you give me a quote of what it would take to get this car fixed? They looked at it. They did, an assessment, and they came back to her and they told her that it was going to cost $1,300 to get this fixed. This is an emergency cost that came at a particularly difficult time for Sydney. She had just moved to Georgia, and she was about to start school in the fall. So, of course, this wasn't a cost that was expected on her horizon. Just like many of us, we find ourselves with a budget, and so did she. So this sudden expense was larger than she had anticipated for her emergency fund. And she just simply had not planned for such a major, major expense. So she was stressed, she was worried, but she was also in a situation where she just could not have an AC in a car that she was using every day to transport back and forth to school. So she was wondering, what was she going to do to get this kind of money to do an emergency repair? But here's where the story actually takes a turn. She didn't have to scramble to find cash. She actually didn't have to go and get an emergency high interest loan either. if you can go to the next slide here, she actually, when she went to her mechanic shop, she was able to talk to them about what options she has available. Now, what you need to know is that Adiola has excellent credit. Adiola Sydney, she has managed to maintain a good credit profile. Every time that she took money, she paid it back on time. And so the shop actually gave her an opportunity to use their buy now, pay later service. So this was very convenient for Adiola. She felt very empowered that she can actually go ahead and get her car fixed immediately. This allowed her to not have to dip into her emergency fund. It also allowed her to not have to go and get like that expensive interest rate on her credit cards. And she was able to manage this payment, get the car fixed today, right away, and manage the payment over installments. They gave her 12 months to be able to pay it off. Not all merchants would be able to do 12 months, but this particular opportunity gave her 12 months to pay it off. She got her car fixed and she was able to go home that same day in a very cool car. For many of us, this idea of selling on credit, especially if you're a merchant, is not something that's actually feasible. The cash flow, you need it in order to be able to run your business. This particular dealership and maintenance shop certainly didn't have the cash up front, but they were connected to a lending institution that was able to advance that option for buy now, pay later to Adiola and allow for her to get her car fixed. In Nigeria, it's not that this is a foreign concept. What merchants would often do is something what you would call the post-dated checks, right? In the US, we also had a very similar concept. That's where I'm from. It's called layaway. You can do a layaway plan. In both of these models, though, the goods that you have to get or that you are committing to buy, you don't actually get to take them home on the same day. You would be able to put down your first check and you would say that I would pay the rest of the payments over maybe the next 3 months or next 2 months. Or it's not guaranteed that you can take those goods home immediately because they're waiting for the final payment to be made. That's where the difference comes when it comes to buy now, pay later. That's a fundamental difference. It allows for the customer to immediately take the goods. It allows for the merchant to immediately be able to give the service or deliver the product and get paid in full without having to take the risk of those installment payments. And for a lender, it oftentimes gives them a new customer. This is a customer that they may not have ever been able to reach, but by working through that merchant, they now have a new customer in their books that they can continue to deliver valued financial services to. This is a fundamental shift in the way that I believe that, credit is going to be able to flow within the market in Nigeria. And so we're really excited to have, the opportunity to listen to Vin and the solutions that they have for this problem. So for far too long, the idea of selling credit has been a headache for many small to medium-sized companies. They're just not in a position to do so. And this is likely an opportunity that is going to transform the way you're doing business. So your customer is now going to have the potential to be able to take your goods and services. You're going to be able to sell to more customers. So when you have customers come through your store, more often than not, they can leave with a sold product to them. This is also going to help you be able to attract good customers. So once that customer is able to get that product on buy now, pay later, you now know that that customer has been assessed by an institution that manages risk. If that institution finds that that customer certainly is accountable and responsible with credit, you know that that's a good customer. They will get your product. You can also think of, are there other ways that you can serve that customer? And this becomes a very attractive way for you to build a list of very good customers for your business. You can send them flyers for openings that you have. You can send them when new products are out because you now know that they're credit worthy. I would also say that the promise of buy now, pay later also reduces the risk in the market overall. It allows for lenders to be able to assess their customers at the point of sale when they're ready for something, and that's always great. So using data is a great opportunity for everyone to be able to grow their business, for customers to get access to the things that they need most when they need it, and for lenders to be able to grow and deliver and serve them. So from the point of view of a credit bureau, we're in the business of providing that data. We want to make sure that the data that we have puts a customer in the best possible light for them to get accepted and approved when it comes to getting access to credit, for being able to get your products and services, and most of all, for being able to drive home on the same day in a cool car, even when it's scorching hot outside. So I do want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for the opportunity to share how all of this fits together through hopefully a simple example that you can now relate to your own business. Whether you are a shop where you're selling, appliances, whether you're selling phones, whether you're selling computers, this is an opportunity for you to integrate buy now, pay later into your store, into your process of selling, so your customers can also walk away with your products and services on the same day. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you. There's going to be an opportunity for questions, and I am happy to be able to take those as we go throughout this webinar. Thank you very much. Back over to you, John.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. That was actually awesome. That was awesome and amazing. I want those in the comments, I want our guests to start compiling their questions, participants start compiling your questions, because I'm sure Dr. Jameelah here has answers to your question. Start getting your questions. But before I start picking up questions from the comments, I think I have very few questions just to ask, and just to bring clarity to just to what some merchants might be feeling. Oh, this is a new thing. So let me just ask my question. So I know that some merchants today, to them, BNPL seems like a word they've never heard before, right? So, but now, how would you in a way convince someone who actually feels that, oh, BNPL is not payment method, right? How would you convince someone? How will you relate it to them as regarding telling them, oh, this is a game changer for you to build your business, not just a different payment method, but it's actually empowering you as a merchant. So how will you convince them, right, that okay, this particular process, this particular process, right, is not just another payment method as you have out there. It's actually something that can actually boost their sales. So how would you go about telling them that?
Thank you for that question. So if I put on my merchant hat, right, and I grew up, my grandmother had her own store, right? So it was just a candy store, so small store, but she was a merchant, and oftentimes some other stores around her would come and buy goods, buy packs of candies and sweets to be able to take to their own stores. And she was very fortunate. She was able to get her products and services on credit. So she can buy 10 or 20 boxes of certain things, where the clients that came to her may only be able to buy one or two, right? So they needed her because she can get the bulk, and they would be able to buy as they need it. So with this type of service, my grandmother probably would never have had to buy everything in bulk, because her clients could have bought things as they needed and paid over time. She had the luxury of being able to get credit. So when I think of a merchant, and from a merchant's perspective, the process, first of all, is pretty straightforward, right? You don't have to invent the technology. You don't have to be a lender. You don't have to assess the risk. You just have to implement it as part of your processes to say that as a payment option, and you have many payment options. You may say that, hey, if you're from a particular association or from a particular group, your group doesn't have to pay us except for once a month, right? You can have so many different payment options. Buy now, pay later is just another option that you can give to your customers, right? They can pay with cash, they can pay with POS, they can pay with transfer. Now you can say they can pay with buy now, pay later. This option being available to your customers, what it does is it opens up an entirely new customer, I'm going to say, opportunity for you, an entire new customer portfolio for you. Customers would have oftentimes, if they really wanted a product, they may end up getting the lower version of that product because it's less expensive. But by offering them now, buy now, pay later, they may actually take the higher end version of a product or a better featured product because they can now spread it across 3 different payments, right? So let's just take that to a practical situation. I'm looking for a phone. I go into Slots or I go into one of the stores there, and they have many phones available. Well, if you think about that, by using buy now, pay later, I don't have to look at the cheapest end phone. I can actually look at one that offers me all the features that I absolutely need. And I can use a BNPL solution as a merchant to deliver that to my customer. So that's one of the things I think that a merchant should honestly think of when you're doing this. Is like, how can I increase the kinds of customers that I can get to come through my establishment? And how can I increase the opportunity for them to leave with a product now while I'm being able to be paid immediately for that? So those are some of the things I think that they can look at.
Oh, thank you very much. That's really awesome. And I think it's really clear. Okay, so I'm sure some of our audience might be thinking, right, especially for the merchant folks, right, it sounds complicated to them. Would they have to start building something? Would they have to start doing different stuff, creating accounts, right? So for them, they already think, okay, I'm already doing inventory. I already have my staff. I already do marketing today. So what do you think is the simplest way that a busy merchant can introduce BNPL without it becoming another headache or disrupting their current sales process, right? Because a few days ago, I paid visits to some of the merchants, and from what I could see, most of them were actually busy. So for such busy merchants, how do you think that with them introducing BNPL, it won't actually disrupt their current process, but instead to be a booster to their sales and also help them get more conversion?
Yes, that's incredibly important, right? When you think about merchants, their job is to push their goods. They're not sitting here trying to be the next technology unicorn. They want to be able to push their goods, right? So we can't make the introduction of solutions bring a headache to someone's business. So for a merchant, I think that the best way to look at this is think about your existing processes, right? Some of you may have online e-commerce solutions where the customers can go there, pick the products that they want, and then buy at checkout. But you're only giving them the option to do a transfer or, be able to pay with their card. So in that same sales process, your BNPL solution can fit very seamlessly into that flow. If you work with companies, certainly like VN, they would help to make sure that literally you can turn it right on. And now in that list of payment options, that will be there for your customer. Some customers, they're only able to buy one thing because that's where their money can reach. But with BNPL, they might be able to pick out 2, maybe 3 things because they can now buy that entire, basket essentially over 3 months or 2 months or 6 months, depending upon what the lender offers them. So that's just one flow from a digital perspective. But we also know that merchants you have in store. There's still a lot of merchants that are, brick and mortar. And BNPL also works for those customers as well, which is very, very, very fortunate. So your process today as a brick and mortar is that you have a storefront, you have a floor. I would say do something as simple as putting up a sign to say, BNPL available now, right? So your customers can know right off the top that, hey, one of their options in the store is still to be able to buy now and pay later. Oftentimes this does require an upfront deposit. But if you think about it, if someone wanted to buy something that was worth 10,000 naira, they may not have the full 10,000, so they'll come back. But by offering them buy now, pay later, they can walk out the store with that product on the same day and pay maybe only 1/4 of that, like 2,500 naira, right?
Yeah.
Or pay a third of that, which is like 3,300 naira, right? Which
Yeah.
allows for them to get those goods now. So I would say definitely display it that you are offering buy now, pay later. And at the point of checkout, you would just use the application to use, for the customer to be able to fill out that and be able to get approved by your lender of choice. So yes.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, ma, for bringing clarity to that. I think some of our audience should be dropping questions now, but let me just go ahead with asking one more question. So from a risk perspective, I was on the street some days ago talking to some of the merchants, and some of them said, oh, they currently give credit facility to their customers, right? They extend credit to their customers because they trust them and all that. So, how do you think BNPL is currently different from how those merchants serve their customers today? And do you think it's better compared to a merchant saying, "Oh, pay me next month, pay me in 2 months' time. Oh, I trust this person," and then the person defaults, right? How do you think this BNPL is quite different from what the merchant is actually doing in extending line of credit to the customer directly?
I love that question because, and should I say, I actually admire merchants that take on that level of risk because, their goal is to satisfy their customer and to make sure that they try to create a loyal customer. But, I think that it is an opportunity for a merchant to just diversify the way they are doing business. One thing I'd want to say that BNPL does for a merchant, it removes the responsibility of risk on their business.
Mhm.
I don't think that merchants went into business to become bankers, right? So
Yeah.
the BNPL allows for everyone to do what they do best. Banks
Yeah.
are in the business of assessing risk, collecting their money, and making sure that the money gets paid to those who are expected to be paid. So, for a merchant, do what you do best. You manage inventory, you manage the sales process, you manage, making sure that the goods are repaired if there's an issue. I mean, you have so much on your table. I don't think that you should have to take on the responsibility of also now being the banker, running down with the clients to try to collect that last payment. If the check is now a dud check and is not being paid, you're now having to figure out how to do that. Use the 100% upfront payment from the bank so that you can go ahead and buy more inventory for your next customers that are coming in. So that's what I would say. If you can get out the business of taking the check the next month and putting them on buy now, pay later, I would certainly recommend that.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you because the merchant needs to maintain their cash flow, and at the point where some of these merchants get stuck, where customers default, right? Like I said, as one of these merchants also mentioned the fact that he had to start choosing these clients, right? Start choosing them to pay, although they were corporates, not individuals, but you had to start choosing them around for them to pay and all that, and then that affects their cash flow at the end of the day. So yeah, I agree with you that everyone should do what they know how to do best. Merchants they know how to sell, should sell, right? And let those who take risks should take the risk, right? So yeah, I totally agree with that. I think there's a question in the comments, so let me just pick that up. Someone is asking, can I use BNPL for other services aside from products? Can I use BNPL for other services aside from products? So over to you, ma.
Yes, I would say that buy now, pay later also works for medical, right? If I
Yeah,
want to get constructive, surgery on my teeth, it may cost a lot of money. Those kinds of surgeries and things are costly. But if
yeah,
you're having pain in your teeth, that's not something you want to delay, right? It's like you want to get that fixed now.
yeah, yeah,
So buy now, pay later can allow for even medical facilities to be able to serve their clients immediately when it's needed and allow for them to pay that over time. So that's a great example. But we also talked about services such as, the automobile example that I gave earlier. Those are things that allows, again, for your customers to get the convenience of being able to walk away immediately with the work being done. So yes.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I have one last question. I have one last question. So, yeah, second to the last, basically. So, looking
Okay.
ahead, because SMEs, based on what you've said, means SMEs need to be prepared for the future, right? Because it seems credits, right, is going to be embedded in almost all ecosystems, and commerce is one of them, right? So, my question is this: looking at where the market is going, what do you think merchants should start doing now to prepare for that future, right? Because it seems that in the future, credit is not just be like a nice to have, but also a customer's expectation. So what do you need? What do you think that this merchant needs to start doing now to get ahead of that curve, rather than scrambling ahead to catch up later?
Yes, there's probably a few things that I would recommend merchants do. One, I would say just become digital savvy. I think that that's going to be incredibly important. I believe that the buyers, the future buyers in the market certainly are online. They're, using
Yeah,
smartphones. So figure out a way to become digital as much as possible. That's one big one. I think another one is figuring out how to utilize data. It's certainly something that merchants look for. They don't want a bad customer, right? They definitely don't want a bad customer, especially if they're advancing the credit or giving the options.
yeah,
But data actually opens up an entire universe of good credit customers. And so these are new customers to you that you can use data from and be able to find great customers. And what I mean by that, you can come up with the criteria of the kind of customer you absolutely want to be able to reach.
yeah,
And whether that is a female between the ages of this and this, that between the ages of 25 and 35 who live in, on this particular axis in VI, right?
yeah,
You may say that these are the customers I want to reach. I want them to be able to know that my store is here. You can utilize data to reach those customers, give them an online experience, let them see your products and services, and be able to buy immediately with buy now, pay later, right? So
yeah,
this opens up your opportunity to grow your business beyond your normal brick and mortar type of business, and then you can still maintain that brick and mortar and use that more for like your VIP experience, right? You can
yeah,
find
yeah,
ways to really accelerate and grow the way you do business. And I love that opportunity is now available for merchants to be able to utilize. The other one is that merchants oftentimes would have to compete when it came to customers, and that competition often came by reducing prices, right? So I
yeah,
think that this gives our merchants an opportunity to not have to compete on price anymore. Is now
yeah,
competing on the different options of being able to sell that product. So, for example, even if someone gave me that 10,000 naira product at now 8,000 naira, but I still have to bring the whole 8,000 naira to
yeah,
buy, I
yeah,
still can't buy it, right?
yeah,
So, at the store that I have the 10,000 naira product and they're going to give me a BNPL option, I can pay 3,300 and leave today with that product, even though it's more expensive, right?
yeah.
So it's giving your opportunity to compete at another level where you're still profitable. And so those are some things that I think that our merchants can begin to embrace as they move to this more digital way of doing business.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So I think I have a question in the comments. So someone is saying, how can you convince customers to use BNPL rather than paying in full, even if they have the money to pay in full? And how will you convince a customer to pay in installments instead of paying outrightly? So what would you do in that case? How would you convince someone to do that?
Yeah. So to me, honestly, it's not about convincing the customer. I think that it's about giving the customer options. However,
Okay.
you can make the options so sweet. If I think about it, right, I'm just now imagining I'm at a store and the product that I want, I can afford it. It's a basic, maybe, uh, generator, right? Just say I'm just
Yeah.
going to try to use some products that I know I would have to pay, a substantial amount of cash for, but I've been saving for it. I have it, right? So I'm
Yeah.
going to get a 5 kVA generator. I know that I can power in my shop, my one fan, and I can keep my lights on all day. But
Yeah.
if I were to get that, maybe 8 kVA, it's a little bit more expensive,
Yeah.
but if I can get it on, buy now, pay later, and I get a little bit higher, power, I can now put on an AC. So when I'm doing my client's hair, Madame is now has the cool AC to be able to do her hair. And I'm going to be
Yeah.
able to draw a new customer base because my shop is more, convenient, it's more comfortable, and it only costs me a little bit extra, and I can pay that over 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's about being able to use the opportunity to upsell a customer, to give them more features, more value, more ability to give convenience to their customers if they have their own businesses. Also being able to give them maybe even some incentives. So for example, if you get today on buy now, pay later, yes, I know you have cash, but if you do buy now, pay later, we're going to be able to throw in this additional, maybe product. It could be something simple. Maybe it's a cutlery set, right? For salad or something
Yeah.
like that, or a branded item like a mug, right?
Yeah.
Or something. But it's again, finding ways to delight your customers and getting them to use options that can be able to, allow for your business to grow. But there's nothing wrong with a customer wanting to pay cash up front for their products and services. If you have the money, absolutely, there's no need to go into
Yeah.
credit if you have the
Yeah.
ability to pay.
Yeah.
However, just know that credit is a multiplier effect, right? So
Yeah.
this is the way I honestly look at credit. I feel that if you're not able to use credit to multiply what you're doing, then you're using credit the wrong way. I would do a buy now, pay later if I were to go into a store and I needed like 4 products, right? And today I'm saying that I only have enough money to buy one. But if I
Yeah.
can buy 4, I don't have to go back to the store again every
Yeah.
time I need one. I can be
Yeah.
able to now, maybe if I'm buying products that I'm planning to sell, I can be able to sell all those products without having to do the transportation costs, without having to worry about,
Mm.
okay, I'm going to run out. Someone's going to need it. Now I'm in an emergency buying to try to go and get it. So credit allows for convenience. It allows for us to be able to now multiply whatever revenue streams we have, because we have more goods and services to be able to deliver to our customers. And so that, yeah, that's the way I look at it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. That was already answered, and I agree with you as well. Yeah. So I also have a question here, and this is from a lender's perspective, right? Saying, as a lender, how can credit registry help me improve credit decisioning and enhance the reliability of the borrower's credit score? So, how can credit registry help improve credit decisioning and enhance the reliability of the borrower's credit score?
Yes. So thank you for that question. Is it Aye? Ayani?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. Hi. Thank you for that question. So, credit registry does a few things, but I'm going to say bureaus in general do a few things when it comes to helping lenders. One, definitely know that a customer is a free agent.
yeah,
They can go and get credit from anyone in the market more often than not. And there are
yeah,
lenders that are out there that are willing to give credit to someone who is not even credit worthy. And you will be
yeah,
caught in a bad fit if you're not using information to be able to make the decision when it
yeah,
comes to a customer's performance.
yeah,
Now, the other thing is that now that customers are beginning to get some access to credit, they're getting access to credit over and over and over again. which means that their credit profile is no longer thin. It's no longer getting a credit report that's only like 2 or 3 or 4 pages. You're now getting some credit reports that may be like 8 to 10, even 20 pages long. That is mental gymnastics for anyone. And I've been doing this business for a long time. Even me having to go through a credit report that has multiple pages could be, mental gymnastics. This is why the bureaus have created a score. So for CreditRegistry, our SMART score certainly allows for lenders to be able to make a quick decision, knowing that we have already done the assessment of all the pages in the report. We've looked at everything. It's like over 300 plus characteristics that have been taken into consideration to identify what's most predictive when it comes to risk. And we've been able to score that customer. So you could begin to rely on a score, knowing that that's going to help you to determine whether it's a good performing customer or a bad performing customer. And then you can be able to make those instant decisions for the buy now, pay later solutions, right? You do not want to give a customer an experience at a merchant whereby it's taking 20 minutes, 30 minutes for a lender to make a decision. That is not going to work. Because for me as a customer, that 30 minutes is the difference from me being stuck in rush hour traffic or getting back to my location. So I'd rather pay the 10,000 naira and just be gone, right? Or not get the goods. So it's important that lenders utilize the sophisticated, AI-driven scoring solutions that are now available to make instant decisions. So the customer is happy, the merchant gets the sale, and the lender, you get a good performing customer that you can now sell many products to. So yeah, so that would be my recommendation.
Okay, I think that's really awesome, and I also agree, right? Credit registry is also one of the biggest credit bureaus, right, in the country, and basically they've been of immense help, right, to lenders, ensuring that they're able to stay risk free, right, and yeah, I think it's a very good resource and very good product for lenders to utilize. So I'm going to my final question before we wrap up. So there's a question here saying, how can BNPL still easy and convenient while ensuring customers spend responsibly and the business remains profitable?
Yes, this is where honestly all three come together, right?
Yeah.
Lenders, it's a great way using bureau and data. It's a great way to make sure you get your money back, but it's also a great way to kind of, I'm going to say, sanitize the market and keep the market, without having to be overextended when it comes to credit. So utilizing, a system that helps you be able to see the full exposure of a customer is going to allow for us to have people spend responsibly. Just because you want something, and yes, you can get it on buy now, pay later, doesn't mean you just now go and buy everything just because there's small payments. Overall, those small payments still add up to a big payment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So lenders, it's going to be important that we utilize the data to make sure we assess what is the full customer, spend capability, and make sure that we don't overextend someone just because, right? So that's going to help us. I think a huge way is by lenders making sure they have those cutoffs, and that consumers also have to take the responsibility as well. I can say from the world that I've come from, really the consumer is the one responsible, right?
Yeah.
You would have lenders, you have lenders that are literally throwing money at you. You can get credit cards, you can get in-store credit, you can get, instant credit. So credit is available everywhere. I'm from a country that's, credit is 200+% of the, credit to the private sector when it comes to the GDP. So it's a bit different than Nigeria. Nigeria is still under 20%. So that's 20 to 200. It's like,
100%.
so when you think about it, most customers have anywhere between 3 to 5 different credit accounts going on simultaneously at the same time. In Nigeria, that is often not the case, right?
Yeah.
And so as we grow our market, and I'm very passionate about this, that we don't grow the market of irresponsibility. And oftentimes that's going to come with some sense of financial literacy,
Yeah.
helping people understand how the system works, but also helping people to understand just because you have access to credit doesn't mean you abuse it. You use it for things, again, that multiply your wealth. That would be my biggest recommendation. Use credit to multiply your wealth, to do things that allow for you. So, and I'll go back to the example that I talked about before. My daughter with her car, if it were, anything else other than the AC, but that AC allowed for her to certainly use her car to go back and forth to school.
Yeah.
That going back and forth to school, knowing she's going to have very long days and things like that, she needs to be productive.
Yeah.
So spending that money in a car that's going to allow for her to have transportation, that's going to manage her costs, going to manage her ability to go back and forth, at the times that she needs to, manage her safety. She doesn't have to worry about, certain public transportation in a new place that she's unfamiliar with, she just had moved there. That's going to allow for her to be productive. She graduated summa cum laude from her school, by the way. She's now a graduate. So when I say be productive, I mean being productive. So I think that credit has to be thought of that way. If she wanted to go and just buy a purse or buy a new dress or buy whatever, then I would say you need to work for it and save your money and buy with cash.
Okay. Sure. I think there's a similar question in the chat, but I think based on what you just mentioned, I think you've answered this question already, right? So I think, that's answered. Thank you so much, Dr. Jameelah. Really appreciate you coming on board. It's been an awesome session. Before we go, we also want to just talk about, so if you can just give us a brief rundown about Vida, right? So so Vida basically is a solution that allows merchants, right, embed BNPL in their current operations, right? So I'll be showing a short demo of how Vida works and how merchants, right, and also lenders can also make use of this opportunity to basically increase their conversions. So I'll be sharing it now. Okay.
You've already set up your credit profile on mycreditprofile.me. Now it's time to use it. From your dashboard, you explore merchants offering buy now, pay later. You spot one that has what you need. You head to the store, find the item, and add it to your carts. At checkout, you choose buy now, pay later via My Credit Profile. No stress, no paperwork. You're shown what's needed, quick, clear, and upfront. Just enter your email, get your OTP, and you're in. Right away, your buying power is calculated. You can pick how long you want to repay, maybe 2, 3, or 4 months. If your eligibility doesn't cover everything, just pay the difference, plus a 30% down payment. You can pay easily by bank transfer or from one of your linked accounts. Done. Your request is submitted. A lender will get in touch with your offer shortly. As a lender on Vida, you get notified of a new BNPL request. Inside your dashboard, you browse the incoming applications. You click on the request and instantly see everything you need: the customer's credit profile, their eligibility, and the item they are looking to buy. You're ready to move forward. Your Vida balance is sufficient, so you claim the request. The timer starts, 30 minutes to send in your offer. You choose to collect via direct debit, then enter your offer, interest rate, repayment date, the rest is pre-filled. You hit send, offer delivered. Lender navigates to customers' payments to track customers' response to the offer. When the customer accepts, funds are debited from your balance and paid to the merchant. Repayment mandates across the customer's linked accounts are activated, and you're all set to receive installments, starting with the down payment.
Okay, so that's basically how Vida works, right? To help merchants and lenders serve customers. And before we go, I just want to give you a rundown of what we've learned so far, right? So Jameelah has told us, right, that as customers, you should ensure, as individuals, ensure you spend responsibly, right? Use your credit responsibly, not just spending or not just using your credit haphazardly. And also for merchants, it's a wake up call for merchants to come on buy now, pay later, right? If you're currently extending credit to your customers, it's safer, right, and much more easier for you to get your cash flow and get more customers by providing BNPL, right? Your customers can actually get access to what they want, right? Get their desired items, right? For you, it's more sales, while lenders on the platform basically get serve those customers. So, Dr. Jameelah, before we wrap up, do you have any final words for us? Any final words of advice for the merchants, the lenders, and the customers as a whole?
For the customers, the biggest thing I'd love for you to do is to just go and find out what information is already out there about you and your performance. Your credit profile is yours to manage, right? And we want it to be the absolute best. So you can go to cban.ng, and you can see the 3 credit bureaus that are in the market, and you can choose the one you want to go to. I believe all of us should be able to provide you with some measure of service. Know what lenders know about you before you go out there to get credit. Just make sure you do that. That way, and again, you want to make sure that your credit history is your reputation when it comes to getting access to credit. Don't let anyone jeopardize that. That is your ticket to be able to grow to financial freedom. This is something that we've coined in CreditRegistry, but we call it cool credit. Make sure that your credit is going to give you opportunity to get access to capital, opportunities, options, and leverage. Don't let anyone take that away from you. That will help you today, and that will help you in the future. So your credit matters. For our lenders, you're continuing to do the right thing. You're utilizing data. I would say just make sure that you enhance your solutions and your services and your processes to utilize scoring. Scoring is going to allow for all of these ideas to be able to happen instantly. It is going to allow for you to make reliable decisions faster, but also fairer. You'll be able to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to be included in this process without any judgmental, decision making is going to be statistically made. And that's going to allow for everyone to be able to get access if they've been credit worthy. And then for the merchants, I just want to say, get started. Don't feel like you have to change your entire business to adopt this. Keep it small. Think of one product, maybe 2 products in your store that you would like to see move, that you'd like to see, customers, if they like it normally, and maybe you already have that feedback. Customers love this, AC of yours. You have a top-end AC, but most people aren't able to get it, so they get your lower version, right? Try that product on Buy Now, Pay Later. Just try one and see if you're able to turn most of those no's, get someone to say, yes, I'll buy it. And once you get one product line or, a couple of products through this and you see that it's working, then you can now think of how do I transform and allow for all of my sales processes to be able to adhere and be able to bring buy now, pay later on. So I want to say grow your business, because as you grow your business, you're going to hire more people get employed, they're going to make money, and they're also going to be able to enjoy buy now, pay later as well. So that's how our economy is going to grow. And that's how we're going to be able to improve everyone's standard of living and make it inclusive for everyone. So thank you so much, Vian. Thank you so much, everyone, for the opportunity to speak with you today, for taking up your lunch period. It has been my absolute pleasure. And I will look forward to, if we have the opportunity to come back, I would love to do so. Great audience, great everyone. Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jameelah, and thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining this session. And please give a round of applause to Dr. Jameelah. We've learned a lot from from a wealth of knowledge. She has really dished out a lot of valuable insights. Thank you, a round of applause. All right. So thank you everyone for joining this session. If I always ask a question, you'll always be able to reach out and also respond to them. You can drop your question also in the comment section on respective social media handles, and we'll be able to provide answers and responses to them. And finally, right, for the products Vida, as a merchant, as a lender, right, kindly sign up on askvida.ai, right, for you to be able to get started, to start serving customers, to start improving your sales, right, for customers, basically. Askvida.ai, that is the link to signing up. And for customers, simply go to mycreditprofile.me. For customers, right, simply go to mycreditprofile.me to get your credit profile and use that to start getting offers from various lenders on our platform. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and see you next time. Bye, everyone. Bye, Dr. Jameelah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.